I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing, click the Amazon banner at the top of the homepage on FascinationStreetPod.com and do all of your shopping through Amazon. Once you click on it and it takes you to Amazon, you can bookmark it or add it to your favorites and you won't have to go to my site each time. It helps me keep the show going, and again, thanks for listening. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Pete Evick. Pete is an onion with many layers. In one of those layers, Pete is the touring guitar player for the Bret Michaels Band and has been for the past 17 years. And we talk about how that all came to be and some of his favorite experiences during that time. Another layer is that he has his own band called Evick, which plays occasionally and seems to be a crowd favorite wherever he goes. Also, we talk about his book, The Moments That Make Us. And of course, we talk about Shining Soul Candles, the candle company that he decided to start a few years ago and how that's going for him. There is a spectacular giveaway in this episode, so make sure you pay attention. So enjoy, folks. This is my interview with Pete Evick.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street, Pete Evick. Is it Evick or Evick? How do I say your last name?
It's Evick.
Oh, cool. Well, welcome to Fascination Street, Pete Evick. How you doing?
I'm great, buddy. Thank you for having me.
It is 100% my pleasure. Now, the way this is going to work is we're going to get to know a little bit about you and some of the different things that you do, which seems to be a lot creatively. So let's get right into it. Where were you born and raised, Pete?
I was born in Manassas, Virginia, raised in Manassas, Virginia, and I'm sitting here talking to you from Manassas, Virginia right now.
Get right on out of town. That never happens.
I've stayed here my whole life. As a child, I was fascinated by the John Cougar Mellencamp, Bruce Springsteen, John Bon Jovi type of hometown thing, and I think that it carried on, and I've never left my hometown despite my success in the music business.
Nice. So what got you interested in music?
I don't know that I got interested in music as it got interested in me, so to speak. My mother was an enormous Elvis Presley fan, and at 5 years old, she put a guitar in my hand. She wasn't very forceful. Like, she wasn't a musician. She wasn't in the music industry. She just thought maybe it'd be cool if I played guitar.
Sweet. So you've been playing guitar since you were that little?
I have. And I wasn't very interested in it for a few years. And then I saw Kiss on TV, and that's all I needed to see because, you know, as a young child, they were like superheroes. So that was all I needed to see, that a superhero spaceman could play the guitar, and I was in.
Forget about small child. Some adults felt that way too.
Yeah, you get it. It was cool.
Absolutely. I remember in my high school history class, there was like a half a page about what an impact the band Kiss made on popular culture, which I thought was weird for a history class.
It's interesting to me that they were laughed at by so many people, and they were not the critics' favorite, but they're the true success story of everything. I mean, they are the biggest band in the world. They went down in history as you know, next to the Beatles. They're really doing what they planned on doing, and they beat all the odds. The Kiss success story is much more interesting than I think anyone knows, because now it's ingrained in our culture that they just are what they are. But the struggle was huge for them.
Well, talk about from bare beginnings. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Gene Simmons said that he was growing up in some other country so poor that they were collecting cactus to cook for dinner later that night. I'm pretty sure I heard him say that.
That's correct. And then as a refugee here in the United States, he was raised by his mother, and they were very poor, and a single parent raising Gene. And he was working as a school teacher at a very, very early age, right out of high school, you know, helping support not just him, but his mother. It is actually a Holocaust story. And, you know, Gene's story is very much, you know, a Holocaust story, a survivor and stuff like that. His mother is that.
Absolutely. So You, Pete, are the touring guitar player for the Bret Michaels Band. Is that right?
For the last 17 years.
Oh, so you just started. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm kind of new at it.
So who else is in that band with you?
Well, right now, my high school buddy and longtime bandmate, Mike Bailey, is the drummer. Old buddy of mine has been in the band for about 14 years. Rob Jawswick plays keyboard. And the founding member of the band Cinderella, Eric Brittingham, is our bass player. And the wonderful Bret Michaels is our singer.
Bret Michaels. I feel like I've heard that name before, but let's move on. Now, so how did it come to be that all of you guys came together?
So the original version of it is that my band, Evick, was Bret's opening band for his first solo tour on a lot of the East Coast dates. And let's just say basically he decided to change the band he had and called me and asked me if my band knew all the Poison songs. He goes, you know the Poison songs? I don't want to bring my band out to this one gig I have in Detroit. So why don't you guys just come up and we'll play them? We didn't rehearse. We didn't even discuss anything other than we met in the hotel room the day of the gig and went over a few things. And I'll never forget, he told me it was a little radio gig. And to me, in my band, little radio gigs had been show up at the radio station and play acoustically for 15 or 20 people, or play a small club or something like that, more of an intimate thing. And we got there, and this small radio gig was 15,000 people.
Well, I guess if you're Bret Michaels and you're used to touring the world playing for hundreds of thousands, maybe that is a small gig.
Yeah. So we went out completely unrehearsed, and I did horrible. And it was my band that had been together for a long time called Evick. We didn't play great, and it was really disappointing, to be honest with you. It really put me in a strange depression because I thought, well, there it was, all my years of work and struggle, and I got one chance and I blew it. And so Bret called me a few days later and asked what I thought. And I said, well, we didn't rehearse. I thought it was supposed to be a smaller gig. And, Bret was like, well, I saw your band. I know you got it in you. Let's try it again. So he had a show 2 weeks later opening up for Lynyrd Skynyrd in Nashville, Tennessee on Memorial Day weekend at the famous Starwood Amphitheater. Sold out, 33,000 people. And he brought us down to give us another shot. And I'll never forget, at the last song, he turned and looked at me and he gave me a high five, and everything was fine. And here me and him are all these years later. So
you said initially he, maybe there was some things happening with his band at the time, and that he just picked up the phone and called you. I'm assuming you guys had a personal relationship before that?
We met over the years, and like I said, we were his opening band, so I'd see him on the tour. And his one guitar player at the time was really good friends with me. And when Bret was thinking about other options, the one guitar player wasn't going to continue the tour. It was there wasn't an argument or fight. He just was going to go do something else. So he kind of suggested me to Bret anyway, and Bret and me had gotten along, so it just worked out.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So you guys have been playing for 17 years, touring, I guess, when Poison is not touring, the Bret Michaels Band is. Is that right?
That's correct. We go year-round all the time. I've flown out of my house on Christmas Day to make a gig. We've done Thanksgivings, Halloweens. We play all the time. Bret is a road warrior. It's his life. It's what he's meant to do, and it's in my blood too, and we just keep going and going and going. Poison plays usually 30 dates every other year, so it's not a very consistent thing. It's they skip a year in between, and they just do your regular summer shed tour, and we fill up all the gaps in between.
Wow, I guess he really doesn't need nothing but a good time.
That's correct.
So I know that you guys have played overseas for the troops. Can you tell me about what it feels like to play for the troops that are, on the other side of the world?
The first time we did it, it changed my entire life. I'll try to explain it, and thank you very much for asking this question. My father was a military guy, and a lot of people in my family are military. I didn't do the military, and I think that there's some guilt that I've always felt. I live in Manassas, Virginia, but that's really, if you know your geography, where 30 miles outside of Washington, D.C. I'm surrounded by military here. I've always had this little guilt that I didn't do my time. And so when Bret came to me and he said, I have the opportunity to go, and this was right in the middle of the war. The war was going on. And he said, I have the opportunity to go perform for the troops in Iraq. If you don't want to go, I understand it, but I would like to go. And I just said, yep, I'm going. And the whole band said, we're going. The one thing that Bret said is, when we get over there, I don't want to just play in Kuwait City. I want to go to the forward operating bases. So we ended up doing 7 or 8 shows, some of them with a floodlight on us out in the middle of the dark desert. And we had one light, and if they thought they were going to be attacked or something, we would turn the light off and get down in a bunker and wait for it to go off, and we get back up and play. But my point to that is Bret didn't just want to go play it safe and play in Kuwait City where everything was safe when this was all going on. We went out there and we played for the troops in their camps out in the field, and they were grateful. I can't explain it. They were just so grateful and had such a good time, and they would thank us over and over again for bringing a little piece of home back to them. And it just changed me, man. If I see a soldier now, I walk up to him and thank him for his service. I never did that. I just wasn't as aware of their sacrifice until I got out there and saw it firsthand, But there's also a unity out there. They become brothers, they become brothers and they become family, that those ties are never unbroken, and they create bonds with each other that we here probably don't create anymore in this world where half of us don't even know our neighbors. So playing for the troops was eye-opening. It changed my life. I was always a military supporter, but tenfold after we went there.
Very cool. I am 100% sure that they appreciated the hell out of that. So thank you for doing that for them. That's really cool.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Now, besides that, I'm sure you guys have toured other places, maybe outside of the country or inside of the country. What is your favorite show that you guys have done as part of the Bret Michaels Band?
We just recently did Stagecoach, which is the country music version of Coachella out in California, which we were the rock act on the bill with Jason Aldean, Jason Aldean played Saturday night. Luke Bryan played Friday night with us. It was 80,000 people, and that was pretty amazing. We toured Australia with Motley Crue. That was awesome. Everyone always dreams of seeing Australia. That was great. We do. I was just in Cabo San Lucas last weekend. We were doing a show down there. I'm grateful to do everything we've done. We've done so many cool things. We play in Canada a lot. We've been into Alaska, which is still the United States, I know. We've done Brazil. Unfortunately for me, I'm one of those guys that just every day I get excited that I get to do this and feed my children. So I love every gig, every show.
Well, you said unfortunately for you, but that sounds like that's pretty damn fortunate. Well done.
Thank you. I don't know that I can answer that question correctly. I'm a beach guy. I'm an ocean guy. I certainly love play. We play down the Riviera Maya in Mexico a lot. I love that. I love everything. I like to see the world, and I love playing in Iraq, to be honest with you. One of the shows we did in Kuwait was against the ocean over there, and you just don't even think about the beaches of the ocean, and it was beautiful. You know what I mean? We were on the Dead Sea on the water, and it was as stunning as any beach that you see in Mexico or in Turks and Caicos or anything like that. So I like playing all over the world, everywhere.
Well, that's very cool. So let's move on a little bit. How is your band Evick still together? Do y'all ever even have time to do anything together?
Yeah, we actually, I think we've done it 9 or 10 years in a row. We do a first week after New Year's Eve party, local gig back home. And the bass player and drummer Chuck and Ray were originally in the Bret Michaels Band, but after 10 years, they both came home. And we get together, and my guitar player, his name's Matt Davis, and we do this one gig once a year, and people fly from, literally all over we've had people fly in from Canada and from Hawaii and come up from Mexico and all over. I think one year we had someone come over from Europe, and we have people from all over the United States come, and they come to Manassas, my hometown, and we have a big old once a year annual Evick party.
Oh, that sounds like an epic Evick party.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know that you wrote a book. It's called The Moments That Make Us. Can you tell me a little bit about why you decided to write that book and what people might find in it?
I'd be glad to. So after several years of being a touring musician, me and my wife decided to split up, and I went through this kind of horrifying panic of what was going to happen to my children. I just couldn't explain it because I didn't believe in divorce, but I knew that it was maybe the right thing to do. And my focus and my fear was my children. And originally the book was called Kids Are Resilient, but What About the Adults We Become? Because as I was talking to therapists and friends and anybody, all anyone kept telling me when I was worried about my kids, they'd just say, oh, kids are resilient. And then I just started thinking, well, maybe that's true, but everybody that I know, whether they're multi-million-dollar artists, Grammy Award-winning superstars, or just neighbors, anyone I know that has come from divorce, it did affect them. But sometimes it doesn't show till their adult life. And so that was on my mind, and I was going to try to write this book about that. But as I started writing it, the publisher, I would send the chapters, and the publisher said, this book really isn't about a divorce. This book's a kind of an inspirational storytelling book. So maybe we should change the name of it. And so we changed the name of it to The Moments That Make Us. And basically what the book is as I started thinking about my childhood, which I didn't come from divorce. I came from, both of my parents had lives prior to their life together, and I have stepbrothers and stepsisters, but I didn't come from divorce myself. But I started retracing my childhood and thinking about every single thing that had made me who I was. And I started realizing that there are moments, like literal stop you on a dime moments that change your path, change everything about you. And I collected 12 of these moments that basically I related to a pinball machine, and you're the ball. And that second that you hit the bumper, in a split second, the ball goes the other direction. That ball is your life, and those bumpers are the moments. And this book was written about those particular moments that instantly send you on a different path. And so I tell 12 stories about those moments that happened in my childhood. And the thought was to hope that other people read my moments and kind of go, oh, something similar to that happened to me. And that way also kind of send a message that, hey, we're all weird. We all turned out strange, and we're not alone. The message of the book was we're not alone. But it was also hoping that you would read the book and decide to trace your own steps and find out why you're you and what those crazy moments that happened directed your life.
Well, that sounds awesome. How long did it take you to complete that manuscript?
That's an interesting story. It took me 5 years to complete the book, but in actuality, it only took me maybe 20 hours to write it. I only wrote it on airplanes while we were traveling because that was the only place that my phone was turned off and that no one could get to me. The only peace I had was on airplanes where I could sit down and only focus on that. So it took me 5 years to actually get it done because you have to be inspired. You have to not be tired. You have to be comfortable on the plane. And when all those things hit, I would open it up and write a chapter. But each chapter really only took me maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours to write.
Wow, that's great. When did it come out?
It came out, 4 years ago or so, I think.
Gotcha. Everybody make sure and scroll down to the show notes. There'll be an Amazon link to that book. Go ahead and check that out. It sounds amazing.
That's very, I think it was either 4 or 5 years ago, just like last week that it came out. The years are going by so fast now, it's hard for me to even keep track. It's amazing.
The way I look at time, the older I get, and this is going to throw off some of the listeners because I'm going to talk about a vinyl record. So a vinyl record, if you look at when it's spinning, the very center spins, it seems faster than the outside of the record, just because that's the way physics works. And so I feel like when you're born, you're setting the needle on the outside and time is just going a little bit slow and a little bit slow. But the longer you live, the further inside that record you get. And I swear, man, I feel like I'm just holding on to a merry-go-round sometimes.
I got to be honest with you. Most people don't blow my mind. I'm usually relatively think that I'm the intelligent one in any conversation or the witty one in any conversation. You just got me, man. I don't steal anything from anybody, but I'm going to go tell everybody your record theory tonight. That is a combination of Albert Einstein's theory of relativity and rock and roll all in one. That's something I should have come up with. There's several songs that I listen to and I go, holy crap, I should have written that. Not I wish I wrote it, but I should have written it. Like, it's my story. And what you just said, anyone that knows me knows that I should have come up with that, not you. That's pretty amazing.
Well, you're welcome to it. Use it, spread it, love it.
That's it. Spread the information. That's what it's about.
There you go. So at some point, you decided to start your own company. First, I want you to tell us why you started that company, and then I want you to tell us what that company is.
Okay, so it's a very interesting story, and it's very, there's multi-levels to why the company started. But I'd been on the road for 9 solid months, and this was about the time that my family was separating. I'd been home like 2-3 days in that whole 9 months, and when I got home, I was burnt. I was burnt out beyond any level of burnt I knew could exist, and I went and I bought a candle from the biggest candle company in the entire United States, and it was supposed to smell like a wood-burning fireplace. And I lit it up, and I just wanted to sit in my house and feel like I had a fire burning. And it smelled correct, but it didn't smell as much as I wanted it to, you know. So then the next day I went and bought 2 more of the same one and lit all 3 of them together. I was just sitting in the dark with these candles burning in my living room all by myself. And I just thought, man, I've never, ever had a hobby in my entire life. I've done nothing but play guitar. Let me see if I can make a better candle than this thing. So I went to the hobby store the next day. I bought all the different things. And all of a sudden I became obsessed. Like, I'd never had a hobby in my life. It's just been guitar, nothing else. And I became obsessed with candles and how to make them. And it was like, I was almost kind of reliving my childhood, having my own art class or arts and craft class in my kitchen. And 6 months later, I had learned everything you could dream about the candle industry. And I just thought I was making the best product out there, right in my kitchen. I was using soy wax, which is made in America and made in the Midwest by farmers. And I mentioned my love for John Cougar Mellencamp to you before. I'm a big supporter of American made, and I'm a big supporter of the farmers and helping the American farmer get on track. You know, Mellencamp leads that crusade through farm made and all that his whole life. So all of a sudden, me buying that soy wax that I was using instead of the paraffin wax the other big companies use meant that I was helping the farmers. Even if I was just buying 10 pounds of it at a time to use in my kitchen, I was helping our American farmers. So that made a big deal to me. And then I found out that the candle industry, this one particular company, had made $2.4 billion in the United States alone that year. One particular company. That's not the entire candle industry. And I thought to myself, man, nobody makes that in the music business. So at the same time that was happening, I was realizing that my children were probably not going to be the college-going type. They're going to live a lot like me and follow their passions and their dreams, and they don't really like school and they don't like authority very much. And so with that being said, I thought to myself, let me start a little online company selling these candles and see if I can teach my kids a little about entrepreneurism. Let them know that if I sell a candle for $25, that I don't actually make $25, if that makes sense. And so we started it really, really slow, and I started Shining Soul Candle Company, which is what we have today. And originally, when I started the company, I brought in one of my partners, Sarah Rodriguez, and I didn't tell anybody that it was me. I wasn't sure that the candle industry would want a rock and roll guitar player as the face of one of their companies. I didn't know. I had a lot to learn about who buys candles and what they would expect. So my friend Sarah, she's the epitome of pop culture, and she's an amazing mother, and she just fit the mold of who would represent the product, so to speak. And for maybe almost a year, I would promote it as my friend's company. I didn't even tell anyone it was mine. And then one day she was like, this is ridiculous. You have to tell them it's yours. Let everyone know that this is your company. And we did, and from there it started to blow up.
So it started to blow up after the big reveal?
Yeah, it was doing really well on its own. It was doing good, But it certainly changed everything when I said it was mine, you know.
You started this company making them in your kitchen, is that right?
I did.
Now, I can't imagine that you still do that. I can't even imagine that you still make candles. I mean, you tour 1 million days a year.
I actually still do. I am doing this podcast today with you from my warehouse. We are now in a 3,000 square foot warehouse manufacturing everything here in Manassas, Virginia. And I was pouring them today. I enjoy it. It is still a moment of sanctuary and peace to me that I don't get often. So when I get to do it, I jump in and do it.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, did you say 3,000 square feet?
Yeah.
Hello, my name's Will Shire, and I'm the host of the Weird Wiltshire podcast. I am dedicated to bringing you all the weirdness that has occurred not only in Wiltshire, but all around the world. The podcast covers the paranormal, cryptids, and true crime, and you can also submit your own experience. You can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. I hope to see you soon.
So, at the beginning of this story, you had said that even if you're only buying 10 pounds of soy wax at a time, you felt great about helping the farmers. So how much wax are you buying now?
We buy the wax 4 pallets at a time. The wax comes in 50-pound boxes, and there's 36 boxes on one pallet. So 36 times 4. And we buy that maybe once every 6 to 8 weeks.
So 20 pounds now. That's awesome.
And now we've moved up to 20,000 pounds.
So did you say you purchase that amount every 5 to 6 weeks?
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8. Good Lord. That means you're selling like 3, 4, 5 candles at a time. That's crazy.
We have over 60 different retailers across the country, all the way up into the top of Oregon, all the way down to the bottom of in San Diego, to the bottom of Florida, all the way up to the top of Connecticut, and everywhere in between. We even have a deal with Bed Bath & Beyond. So we're selling candles all over the United States.
Well, that is fantastic. How interested are your kids in this business?
It comes and goes. Whenever we hit a certain accolade, they think it's cool. We have a brick and mortar store in the Old Town district of Manassas, and for the 3 years in a row, we've received the best gift shop of the year by what's called the Virginia Living magazine, which is like the big coveted award that you get in Virginia. And then last year, the government gave us the Business of the Year award, and I was awarded Man of the Year by the city of Manassas. When those things happen, my kids think it's really cool, and then they don't like to come into the warehouse. There's a part of them that this has now taken the time away from them that used to be theirs, because I'd come home from the road and just be with them, and now I'm I'm helping run this company. There's 3 of us, bust our ass, but so I think there's a little bit of maybe resentment that this has taken some time away from them, but I also think it's very cool. Like my youngest at the beginning of every school year now will ask me to give him some candles to give to his teachers and stuff like that. But my oldest son's at that age where he thinks rock and roll is really cool right now. And there's a huge distance between what you would consider, rock and roll guitar player and a candle maker. So he likes the rock and roll part of me a lot more than the candle maker right now, but he appreciates business. We sit and watch Shark Tank and The Prophet and all that stuff together. And he likes the business side of it, but I don't think that he thinks candles themselves are too cool, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. How many different scents do you have? See what I did there?
Oh, hundreds. I mean, I say hundreds. We probably at any given time are running about 100 to 120 different available products on our website and in our store.
Wow, that's awesome. What price range are your candles?
Our large one is $22.99, but we do some specialty stuff that's $24.99. Our smaller tin candles are, I think they're $11.99. So, we're priced between $12 and $25.
Very cool. And I'm assuming there's a website?
Yep, shiningsoul.com, S-O-L, not S-O-U-L.
Now, let's talk about that name. Where'd that come from?
So interesting. I told the story just the other day, and I hadn't told it in a long time. The name was as important to me as the product. Man, I wanted to just knock it out of the park, and I wanted the name to mean something. And everything I do these days is about trying to be inspiring and uplifting. So let me backtrack. When I signed my very first record deal, I signed it to a record label called Soul 3 Records. Soul meaning the sun, S-O-L. It's just a word for sun, but I loved it. I loved using the term soul for sun. And for a long time, I couldn't think of the name to call the candle company. And I was in a hotel room in North Dakota one night, cold night in North Dakota, and I was just pacing the room, didn't have the lights on, trying to think of a name, and nothing was coming to me. And then it was almost like the information was downloaded into my brain. It's just, I wasn't close to it. I didn't have anything that wasn't looking at anything in the room that would have said it. It was completely dark, and like all of a sudden downloaded into my brain, Shining Soul. And I texted a few people and I said, what do you think of this? And they all said they loved it. And that was the name, and I never looked back.
Has anybody ever, besides me and I guess whoever you just talked to earlier, who else questions that name?
No one really, but people, I got to be honest with you, man, people seem to really like it. We hear so much how they love the name, and it's special to me. It's just a positive, uplifting thing, Shining Soul. It's bright. It's bright. It's make the world a little bit brighter, and then our slogan, share the light. And so yeah, I don't know that people question it or ask about it. Like I said, I haven't told that story often, maybe 4 or 5 times in the last 5 years. No one really asked where it came from, but people say they like it a lot.
Nice. Well, I think it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What did Bret Michaels say when you said, hey, guess what?
No one has asked me that yet. You are the first to ask me that question.
Are you seriously? Nobody said, hey, did Bret give you shit about how rock and roll that wasn't?
No. Bret's an entrepreneur. Bret is always looking to do something cool. He's got the Gene Simmons gene that, he's a rock and roller through and through. He's the real thing. Bret will go down in history like Johnny Cash. He's a rock and roll outlaw, and he does things his own way. And he's a good guy, but he does things his own way. I think the first conversation I ever had with him, he thought it was a little weird and kind of laughed about it maybe. And then we didn't talk about it much for a couple of years. And I think he watched it grow a little bit. People would start coming to shows with Shining Soul t-shirts on or bringing the candles to sign. And he thinks it's cool. He's he's supportive of entrepreneurism. Bret's supportive of doing it your own way. So I don't think he thought too much about it, positive or negative, in the beginning, but he certainly supports it now and thinks it's cool.
Well, I agree. I think that's cool as shit, man.
Thanks, man.
That is very cool. So I'm assuming that since you mentioned, the 4 corners of the contiguous United States, I'm assuming you also sell them in Texas somewhere?
Yeah, we actually just did a new store in Stevensville, which is Twisted J's Boutique. They have a whole bunch of our stuff in there. There's a few other places in Texas. I can't think of them off the top of my head right now. But, yeah, we have markets in Texas.
Oh, very cool. Because that's where I am. And so I guess I'm just going to go to your website and get some instead of driving my ass all the way to Stephenville.
Which part of Texas are you in?
I'm in San Antonio, and Stephenville's closer to Dallas.
Yeah, Stevensville's outside of Dallas. San Antonio is awesome. We were just there recently, I think just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, man.
I think we're always everywhere, though. We keep going and going and going and going.
Well, that brings up a good question. I'm sure there's a website, but can you tell everybody where they can find tour information for the Bret Michaels Band? BretMichaels.com or any of Bret Michaels' social media. It's all right there always. Gotcha. You heard him. They're constantly touring, folks.
We were in Texas for the 4th of July, actually.
Were you playing Willie's Barbecue or what?
No, we were outside. We actually broke the attendance record at a festival in a town, Flower Mound, Texas.
That's where my sister lives.
Oh, yeah. The news was out there and everything. We did 25,000 people and broke the attendance record. And before we left that night, we'd already signed to come and do it again next year.
Oh, kick ass. So you'll be doing it next year. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Very cool. If I have the opportunity, maybe I'll truck myself up there and get to go check that out.
Please do. You'll be welcome. Wherever we're at, you'll be welcome.
Thank you. I bet you guys put on a hell of a show.
I'd like to believe we do. The response is always positive. I don't see a lot of negative things about us, and I'm one of those guys that is paranoid and combs the internet, and I always hear really good things. We get great reviews, so I'm proud. A lot of energy. Bret's like a freight train, man. He's 56, 57 years old now, and just to stand next to him while he's on stage, you can feel the energy, and it makes you tired. I always talk about the first time I ever played with him. I was used to being a 4-set-a-night cover band. You know, I could play 4 straight hours and not think twice about it. I got on stage with him for 45 minutes and walked off exhausted. And I remember thinking, I will never forget thinking, oh, that's why he made it. And that's why other people don't, is there's an energy that has to be a gift. I don't think you can learn it. And when you're on stage with him, he's a front man and he's entertaining and he's making everyone feel good, but it's like a freight train. It's like a quarterback in the Super Bowl, and everybody feels that. That's why he's who he is today. So to answer your question, I think the show is pretty energetic and entertaining.
I think that those qualities that you just mentioned are probably why he also won Celebrity Apprentice a few years ago.
That's right. He crushed through that. It's funny, man. He takes that stuff serious. You know, I was there for a lot of that with him. And he doesn't mess around, man. Even he wanted the world to know that there was a different side of him. And even though it was a competition against other celebrities, he treated it like he was truly looking for a position at the top of a huge international company.
Well, that's really cool. So I know that you said you guys have been doing this, or you've been doing this with him for like 17 years. How long do you see this going? I mean, you did mention that Mr. Michaels is nearing 60.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Sammy Hagar is over 70. Mick Jagger's, how old is Mick Jagger? You know what I mean?
Mick Jagger's 136.
Yeah, so if it's in your blood, it's the only thing I've ever known. I don't know that you stop. You might modify the way you do it. I might end up with an acoustic guitar doing Margaritaville covers, Jimmy Buffett covers in dock bars across the beaches of the East Coast, but I don't know that you stop. I think that that's like cutting off a limb if it's really in your blood. And I think Bret's the same way. I don't think he would know how to slow down.
Well, I think that you're right. I think if it's in you, it's in you, and you have to find a way to get it out, or it's just going to eat you alive on the inside. Right. So tell me about some of the music that you guys play. Am I right in assuming that you write some of this music? Me and Bret,
yes. I am a co-writer on a whole lot of the Bret solo music. And more than that, I am the engineer and producer. Most of those records, the last 4 or 5 Bret Michaels solo records, have basically been done just me and him. We carry a mobile Pro Tools studio with us wherever we go. We've recorded Bret's vocals on his plane. We've recorded them at his house, at my house. I've made guitar tracks on the bus. I've made guitar tracks in hotel rooms. But the creative thing between me and Bret is a lot of times my input will be he'll hear a song that feels a certain way, like, a song that has a feel-good beach sound or a good rock sound, and he'll say to me, "Oh man, we should do something that feels like that." Not copying it, not ripping it off. You know what I'm saying? But just feels like that. And then I'll kind of do some research and create some ideas and then bounce those to him till he's inspired. And then he'll take that and run with it till it's a song. And then I'll come back and we'll start the recording process where I'll be the engineer and the producer of that process.
Wow, that sounds kick-ass. That's gotta help your relationship. I mean, you guys have been doing this together for 17 years. And so commingling all those different aspects of, work and play and collaboration, that's got to do wonders for your relationship.
I believe so. Like I said, I have not a lot, but I have a good pile of great friends, people that I think would go to war for me and people that I will go to war for. And he's one of those guys. And in his world, when you're on top of the world and you're a superstar like that, it's hard to know who's in there for real with you and not. And for some reason, he trusted me with that. And we have a great creative friendship. Like I said, he's one of, if not the best friend I've ever had.
Well, that's kick-ass. So as we're heading out, because I know I've kept you a while and I appreciate you fitting me in, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so Pete _Evick at Instagram. And then official Pete Evick on Facebook, and then Shining Soul Candle Company all over all the social medias. Shining Soul SOL. That's the most important thing. That's my baby, Shining Soul. I love my music and stuff, but I created a company and it's legitimate and it's real and I have a product. So that's really my baby. So if anyone's interested in what I do and anything, please check that out.
What's your favorite Shining Soul scent? Your personal favorite?
Oh, it changes all the time. That's why I keep making new ones. We have a scent called Coastal Nights that I worked for about 6 months trying to create. I had it in my head and I went back and forth with the chemist to get it right. And I like the oceanic beach scents. I like those kind of smells. So, yeah, I have one called Coastal Nights that I really, really love.
Very cool. Here's what I'm going to do with your permission. So, what I'm going to do, guys, listeners, streetwalkers, what I need you to do is retweet this episode. That's it. That's all you got to do. Retweet it. And I'm going to pick one person. I'm going to let it go for a week. I'm going to pick one person who retweeted it. And I'm going to give away one Coastal Nights candle. Going to ship it to you and everything. All right, guys?
Can I butt in?
Sure. Absolutely.
I like to go big. Let's pick 10 people.
All right. You hear that, guys? 10 people. That is a generous, generous fellow.
We'll ship them right out to you.
Wow.
And if you don't know already, you'll know now what the best candle on the planet is.
That's kick-ass, Pete. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Now, I have a big ask.
Yes, sir.
Would it be possible for me to play an Evick song on this episode?
You can play anything you want. It's all yours. Play it away.
Cool. I will do that. And I'm going to put that right here.
All the years have passed me by way too fast, and every drink I take, I swear will be my last. And my will ain't as strong as my warning. Right now, I just wanna get all fucked up, forget about the things tomorrow brings. I'm sick of all the same old shit. This ain't the life I'm supposed to lead. My heart it breaks, my soul it bleeds. I can't keep my conscience clean. My past always catches up with me. I fall apart at the seams. This ain't the life I'm supposed to lead. I'm pretty good at making real bad mistakes. It seems like I do it every single day, and I can't keep my head on straight. I might as well let it all slip away. Out of the bottle and into my veins, black liquid just gonna come into my brain. This ain't the life I'm supposed to lead. My heart it breaks, my soul it bleeds. I can't keep my conscience clean. My past always catches up with me. I fall apart at the seams. This ain't the life I'm supposed to lead. This ain't the way it was supposed to be. Looking in my mirror, is that me? This ain't the life I'm supposed to lead. My heart it breaks, my soul it bleeds. I can't keep my conscience clean. My past always catches up with me. I fall apart at the seams. This ain't the life I'm supposed to lead. My heart it breaks, my soul it bleeds. I can't keep my conscience clean. My past always catches up with me. I fall apart at the seams.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Now, I did promise you, I don't know, it seems like 9 minutes ago that we were on our way out of here, so let's make that happen. Everybody, make sure you scroll down in the show notes for the Bret Michaels Band website for tour information, the Amazon link for Pete's book, The Moments That Make Us, and of course, his website information for the Shining Soul candles, and all of his social media tags will be there as well. Before I let you go for real, Pete, is there anything that I didn't ask you or we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
Maybe not talk about, but I certainly like to do any interview or anything I say. I like to just say thanks to everybody that listened. I hope they found something inspiring. And the important thing right now in this whole world is to just be kinder to everybody, man. I know this is dumb. I'm not trying to get preachy. I'm not a religious person, and I'm not a political person, and I'm not any of that. But I'm a humanitarian, and the world's a funky place. And if you can find it in yourself to be a better person, and find it in yourself to be kinder to other people, and hope that those people pass that kindness on, it's just time to be one world. I'm a middle-class white guy. I'm not Bob Marley, but everybody has to feel what he was trying to say, man, is one world. Let's just get there. That's my message. Let's accept everybody, accept everything, love everybody, and get to the next level.
I love that. And if I can tack this on, your book, The Moments That Make Us, now I don't know all of those moments, but I'm about 100% sure that each one of those moments that changed your life had somebody else in those moments that affected the trajectory of your life. And so I would like all of us to remember that whenever we interact with people, even people we don't know. A 6-second conversation with a stranger can affect their life for the rest of their life, or even for the rest of the day. And I think it's important that we remember that.
Buddy, you just gave me chills. That's the exact message. And it's funny, that's twice now in this interview that you've said what I try to say all day long, and you said it. That's the exact message, man. And if you read the book, you'll see that there's moments that affected me positively, and there's a few moments that affected me negatively. There's a few things in that book that show you that I'm still traumatized. At 46 years old, I'm still traumatized about maybe I'm 47, I don't know. But what you just said is exactly it. It can affect your entire life in a split second. You get it, man. You get it. It's great to talk to you, man.
Well, Pete Evick, thank you so much for taking time out of your super busy and crazy hectic schedule to let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. And it was such an honor and a privilege to speak with you. I thank you so much, man.
Honor to speak to you. You put me in big company, man. Your roster is great. I'm honored to be associated with all of your guests.
Well, it is an honor to bring you into the fold.
Thanks.
You're an official streetwalker now. Thank you so much.
There
man.
You go. Thank you.
You have a great rest of your night, Pete.
Right on.
Bye. As always, thanks for listening, Streetwalkers. And don't forget, follow the show on Twitter at FascinationSTPD, on Instagram at Fascination Street Pod. Follow the podcast page on Facebook at Fascination Street Podcast. And of course, you can always email me at fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and rate us on iTunes. For the next 3 months, everybody who rates and reviews the show and sends a screenshot to fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com will get a free surprise gift mailed to them. Every single one of you. So do it. Thanks, Streetwalkers. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.